Welcome to Talk in Ukraine in English. In episode 4, we'll get to chat with Liuba Shipovich, a founder of Dignitas Fund, a non-profit that supplies drones to Ukrainian soldiers and develops other cutting-edge military technology and training.
Because I'm Ukrainian and there is a war in my country, and I think like there is no other place in the planet where I can be when like my people are in danger. So I have to be here. It's a matter of survival of my nation, my people. It's not just taking our land; it's taking our identity, and I just don't know. Just remove Ukrainians from the planet.
Okay, here we are, Talking Ukraine in English, episode number 4 with Liuba Shipovich. And Liuba is one of the founders of Razom, which is an activist organization that has existed since the revolution of dignity in 2014. And she is currently in Ukraine, actively working towards Ukrainian victory with her current organization, Dignitas Ukraine. Yes, that is correct?
Yeah, correct. So actually, like we have two organizations, Dignitas, which is located in Ukraine, and Dignitas Ukraine, located in the United States.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure because I've seen Dignitas Fund and Dignitas Ukraine. And
It's because we have two legal instances, one Ukrainian legal instance, Ukrainian Charitable Foundation, and 501c3 instance in the United States.
So currently you are where?
Like mostly between Donetsk region and Kyiv, and right now in Kyiv, in our office.
Okay, so tell us, what have you been doing between Donetsk region and Kyiv? And you've been there since the beginning of the war, yes?
Not since the beginning of the war, because the war started in 2014, and I moved to Ukraine in April 2022 when the full-scale invasion started. My initial idea was to come to Ukraine for a month to establish logistics from United States to Ukraine, open warehouse, organize teamwork, and then I just decided to stay until the end of the war, until Ukrainian victory. So here I am.
Yeah, and what have you been doing in that time? How are you spending your days? I imagine it's between doing fundraising on the one hand and delivering things to Ukrainian soldiers on the other, yes?
Okay, so Dignitas is like our mission is to provide technological support to Ukrainian army and veterans. This is mostly because we believe that we can stand against a much bigger country only with the help of technology. And we're trying to cover the entire ecosystem, beginning with training on technology, supplying military with technological devices, maintaining and supporting them, and advocating for technology inside Ukraine and outside of the country. So speaking about training, our project Victory Drones is one of the biggest projects, I believe, in the world in this area. We've been mentioned in NATO report as civilian military cooperation phenomenon. Since the beginning of full-scale invasion, we've been able to train more than 90,000 soldiers on technology, like practically on the field training. This is more than any of Ukrainian allies trained since the same time. We do trainings on technology. We do fundraising campaigns to raise money for like different technological stuff, drones, ground robotic vehicles, Starlinks, tablets, and antennas, and so on, like everything for technology. We support and maintain. What it means that we have our volunteers like almost everywhere on the front line, working in what we call repair shops, to help mostly prepare drones for operations, modify them as technology changes so fast on the front line, and we have to constantly experiment and modify our drones to be able to go through Russia's electronic warfare. And we also advocate for changes in Ukrainian army, constantly advocating for adding more technological education to the basic boot camp trainings for soldiers. We trying to improve training programs in training centers in the armed forces. We advocate for changes in Ukrainian laws for UAV and ground robotic systems manufacturers and so on. And we also UAV and ground robotic systems manufacturers and so on. And we also travel to other countries to advocate for weapons, and especially for technological weapons to be provided to Ukraine. So this is what our team does, and traveling to Donetsk is what helps me to be on top of all changes, communicate directly with military units, know what's going on the front line, which technologies are being used by our enemy, which technologies being experimented with, and so on. So, for example, if we see that one unit is using something effectively, we are trying to distribute this knowledge to other units. So yeah, we are like some kind of evangelist traveling and like moving knowledge between military units.
Well, when you say we, who is we? How many are on your team?
So in Ukraine, we have about 300 people. More than half of them are volunteers, so full-time employees, especially our trainers who are working like almost around the clock. And we also have about 50 people outside the country in the United States and in Canada.
So I should mention, you come from an IT, information technology background. So for you, this is sort of an extension maybe of your expertise that you've had. You had an IT career in the United States, correct? So you have broadened your skill set to move from IT technology to, I guess, robotics warfare technology.
Well, partially, because I used to be a software engineer, and software is just a small part of military technology. Speaking about last 2 years, mostly we've been working with hardware technologies, with drones, Starlinks, and so on. And just recently, Ukraine is moving more to a software side, using AI, computer vision, optical navigation in drones, electronic warfare, and so on. So with we are shifting more from hardware to software side.
So let's just go back to the beginning of the full invasion. Ukrainians using drones was kind of a new technology 2 years ago. The way they were being used by you, I think, Ukrainian soldiers, I guess on the scale and the damage that they were able to use was sort of like a new thing, and it's evolved a lot in that time. Would that be fair to say?
I don't think it's a new technology because all these technologies existed. They just been used in civilian life, and this is like what's unique about Ukrainian-Russian war, that Ukraine didn't have many weapons at the beginning, and civilian technology was actually our only options, like civilian drones, civilian radios, civilian smartphones, and civilian Starlinks. This is what helped us to survive, to stand against Russia for first 6 months until we got Western weapons from our allies. So what Ukraine showed that civilian technologies could be used during the wartime in a different way, and this is our invention on how to use hobby drones for reconnaissance, for hitting Russian tanks, and dropping bombs and so on. So, and this is not because it's some, I don't know, innovation. It just we didn't have any other options.
But I think that's how innovation comes about. It's because there's a need, and if you're resourceful, you figure out how can you achieve your goals with the few the resources that I have. And Ukrainians have always, from what I've seen, been pretty good at doing that. Pretty good at having little resources and making the most of them.
And speaking about FPV drones, it's rather low tech than high tech. You can even compare them to Molotov cocktails in the Finn-Russian war, when Finns didn't have tanks to stand against Russians. They invented Molotov cocktails. So it wasn't some kind of innovation. It was just I don't know, like some kind of smart solution to stand against a much bigger enemy.
How has it evolved? I mean, I guess in some respect, the Russians have caught up, right? They figured out how to electronically jam a lot of Ukrainian drones. They figured out how to employ their own drones in a way they weren't in the beginning. So there's almost like this technological drone race between Ukraine and Russia. Is that?
Yeah, so like every other war, it's a competition between sides, like who is smarter, who is faster, who is more innovative. And war is actually good push for technologies. In every war, we are starting as a humanity, we're starting with one kind of weapons, and we ending the war with new weapons. Same with Ukrainian war. We started with existing weapons, with old Second World War weapons, and currently we are using drones a lot, and technologies are changing so fast. And also, who is faster? Those sides has more chances to survive on the battlefield. If you buy a drone that works today, it won't work in 2 weeks, because Russians would find kind of counterfight against this drone, and then you need to improve your drone to counterfight, and this is a constant competition challenge between two sides. It's challenge of drone technologies, challenge of electronic warfare technologies, and I see technologies that could work in under electronic warfare influence and absolutely resistant to electronic warfare. So I think in after this war, we will see completely new picture of military technologies, and I think very important for our Western partners to look what's happening in Ukraine, learn from Ukraine, actively participate, and also get knowledge and experience, because for sure Russian army is also being trained and getting stronger than it was 2 years ago. And like if NATO countries could say they are much stronger than Russian army 2 years ago, I don't think they can say the same anymore. The country in active war is getting experience like every second and getting much and much stronger.
When you say electronic warfare, what does that mean? Does that mean that the Russians can disrupt the signal that of the driver of the drone and they lose control of the drone, or that they can take control of the drone? Like how does that work, like this electronic warfare? Can you like simplify it for people who don't?
Yes, it's actually like different kind of interferes. Like the most well known is GPS denial environment when there is no GPS signal. Like because of this electronic warfare, you cannot access satellite signals from any devices, like smartphones, drones, GPS systems, like nothing. And also weapons that rely on GPS also don't work. Like Excalibur, HIMARS, they won't work in GPS denied environment because they rely on GPS. And like if HIMARS work perfectly in somewhere in Arizona or Texas, but they don't work in Ukraine in GPS denied environment. And this is something that countries that own HIMARS have to consider when they think that they are protected by HIMARS. They might be protected, but against some, I don't know, like weak enemies, not against technologically developed countries like China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. Other types of electronic warfare can disrupt a signal between control station and drone, between drone operator and drone drone itself. Also, it could take control over the drone. And like different types, like it's not something like static, it's developing all the time. And tomorrow we can see another type of electronic warfare.
How about the drones that we hear about that are striking inside Russia? So, apparently Ukraine has the ability to send their drones pretty far inside Russia. Those are different types of drones, and those are Ukrainian-made drones also, yes?
Yes, these are Ukrainian-made drones, and I would say that these drones are like different types of drones than we use on the front line, because on the front line, requirements for the drone is to fly under electronic warfare, because there is like many electronic warfare devices on the front line. But inside Russia, there is no EW. There is GPS inside Russia. So once you cross the border, you can fly relying on GPS signal. So like this is a different type. And then like the main requirements for long distance drones, for deep strikes, to be able to carry a lot of weight, to fly long distance, and navigate with GPS.
In the beginning, we heard a lot about the Turkish drone, I'm forgetting,
Bayraktar.
Bayraktar. Yeah, you don't really hear so much about it. Is it still being used? Is it not as effective?
They're super expensive. There are much cheaper Ukrainian drones that do the same job. So just comparing, like at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine didn't have own production of drones. So that's why we procure drones from Turkey and other countries. Also, there are a lot of drones from Poland, Czech Republic, but currently Ukraine has one of the biggest manufacturers of drones in the world. And it's much cheaper to procure drones in Ukraine than import Turkish drones. But we still have some Bayraktars in Ukrainian army. They are just few of them, and they are not used much.
You do have a lot of time face-to-face interactions with soldiers from the army. I'm curious, what is their mentality like these days? Or what is the feeling there when you interact with some of these military?
So mostly I work with technological units, UAV battalions, ground robotic systems units, and so on. So they, I would say, like they're less tired than combatants, like directly on the front line, and they're working more with technologies, trying to invent something like engineering stuff and so on. Of course, as like every normal human being, they don't want to fight like constantly without like any rotation or anything. So yes, some of my friends are in the army since the beginning of the war, so it's 11th year of the war, like other point when the full-scale invasion started. I would say like general mentality on the front line is much higher than in like safer places. Like it sounds weird, but when you're like in the center of the action, you feel much motivated and sometimes even safer because like you have weapons to fight enemies. When you're in I don't know, in somewhere in Kiev or Western Ukraine, you rely on air defense. Like you cannot actively fight against the enemy. You just rely on someone to protect you. Also, like for me personally, I'm getting motivation from these people. I'm traveling like so often to Donbass to get this motivation from them.
What does keep you motivated to be in Ukraine? I mean, I know you've gone several times, in your life. You've left your career and life in the United States to come to Ukraine. I mean, what motivates you to do that? I'm here in Germany, and I see people leaving Ukraine because of the war. I see a lot. There's been a lot of men who could potentially be needed in Ukraine. Come here. Why are you going there?
Because I'm Ukrainian, and there is a war in my country, and I think like there is no other place in the planet where I can be when like my people are in danger. So I have to be here. It's a matter of survival of my nation, my people, and like speaking about like living in the United States. To be honest, I don't feel safe even in the United States because Russians are trying to like find Ukrainians everywhere in the United States, in United States universities, in theaters, in like culture events, on television. They're trying to convince and share the propaganda against Russian studies, speaking that Ukraine is not a nation, it's just some part of Russia or something. So I don't know, it's just a matter of Russian existence to make Ukraine disappear. And it's not just taking our land, it's taking our identity. And I just don't know, just remove Ukrainians from the planet. To survive, we have to fight against Russia. And during the war as Ukrainian, I think I have to be with my country, with my people.
You were living in America, you had a good career, and there's a lot of Ukrainians who support Ukraine and feel similar like you do, but they're not moving their lives to Ukraine, right? Like, I mean, it's pretty radical in some way or extreme that people would give up. I mean, some have, but it's a minority for sure. So what gives you that feeling of that you need to do that? That these are your people? I mean, I was reading your biography. You were born in Western Ukraine, but you grew up in Zaporizhia, which is Eastern Ukraine, right? So how did you come to like feel that this importance and attachment to the people where you the nation that you were, spent your formative years in.
Okay, as I told you, I was not planning to come to Ukraine for good. I was planning to come here for a month, but then I felt that I'm more effective here, and it's much faster to do stuff when you're uh, speaking to people in person, when doing something in person, than online through Google Meets or Zoom calls. So even traveling to Donbass or Kherson and speaking to people directly, organizing some stuff, it's much faster than doing this over the ocean.
Yeah. There's something about being there too, just to feel connected to the events, I think, feel.
And being able to hug your people, it means a lot.
You believe strongly in a Ukrainian victory. What does that look like for you, and for the people that you interact with, and how do you think Ukraine can achieve that?
You probably saw this T-shirts from our partner organizations that say "Make Russia small again." So I think this is a Ukrainian victory too. Currently, Russia is an empire. It has a lot of nations in one country, and some nations were able to part from Russian Empire 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed, but other nations are still part of Russian Empire, and once they get independence and Russia becomes the small Russia as it used to be, I think then Ukraine can feel safe, because to make Russia collapse to smaller countries.
Do you think that can happen? Does that mean President Putin isn't around anymore because he dies, or somehow he is removed? Do you think the Russian economy will collapse somehow? It doesn't seem that there's much desire for independence from those countries, from what I know. Mm-hmm. Like movements within those nation states within the Russian Federation.
There are some movements, and I know there were a few forums of independent nations of Russia. And the last one was held in Lviv this year. But inside Russia, since they can freely tell that they want to be independent. Answering your question, I think it's all together. It's Putin either been killed or naturally died. Also collapsing of Russian economy. Russia, the small nations inside Russia become more powerful and fight for their independence. And also Russian people fight for their democratic rights. So I think altogether, something similar what happened to Soviet Union, it seemed so strong just, I don't know, decade before the collapse of Soviet Union, but then altogether, economical reasons, political reasons, and so on, they made what happened.
I'm surprised and shocked that the amount of people that Russia is still able to send to fight in Ukraine after having sustained the numbers that they sustained in soldiers killed.
I think not anymore. If they invite North Korean soldiers, it means they have issues with mobilizations of Russians. So okay. There are proofs that there have been sent 11,000 of North Korean soldiers, and more to come. So it means that there is an issue with mobilizing inside Russia.
I hope so. I would think so at some point, that it's just unsustainable.
Yeah, but it's also a good sign for Western countries to see it's not Ukrainian-Russian war anymore. Russia is fighting with Iranian drones, with Chinese technologies, Chinese drones, and with North Korean soldiers. So, like, it's four countries of this non-democratic countries already joined together to fight against Ukraine. So it means they won't stop on Ukraine. They have like bigger plans, and this is something for NATO countries to actually to be worried about.
Yeah, I feel like they're not worried enough about it, or they don't see that, or at least the civilian population, in Europe doesn't like feel a threat, a military threat from what's happening in Ukraine because they're protected by NATO and fall under the NATO umbrella, and they take it for granted, sort of, that won't happen to them.
You've been to Ukraine before the full-scale invasion, so you saw how relaxed Ukrainian civilians in Kyiv or Lviv or Vinnytsia were before the full-scale invasion, and they didn't believe that invasion is possible until it happens. Like also, I think Israeli people felt safe before, like just a year ago. And like same as any other countries, it's just I don't know, like human nature to feel safe until something happens. And when Putin announced that Russia is testing this intercontinental ballistic rockets, they are not meant for Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia is on the same continent. So intercontinental, it's for other continents.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I hope Europe and America, just get stronger leadership on this position. I hope after the elections, in the States. I mean, that'll be a very important what happens in the next, 6 months, I think, for Ukraine.
Yeah, and like people understand that it's like fake safety. I was at one of the biggest military conference, CONSEC, in Ottawa this year, and there were like many armored vehicles manufacturers there. I like stopped by, asked them if they have any like anti-drone system, any electronic warfare. They told me no, we don't. So I told them, like, your vehicle would survive a few minutes at the battlefield. There is no point for NATO countries like procure more and more armored vehicles for millions and millions of dollars if they cannot stand against a few hundreds of dollars drone. So like I don't think US people can feel safe when they know that Russia knows how to deal with most of US weapons. Like they know how to deal with HIMARS, with Excaliburs, even with Patriot, and providing Ukraine with US weapons in smaller portions means that we train Russians to counterfight Western weapons.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
So it's I think NATO, the best way to be safe is just help Ukraine destroy Russian army in this war, and also like reconsider what they are acquiring for their own armies. If we know that these armored vehicles from the Second World War don't work anymore, there is no reason to procure more of them. It's better to invest into technology, low and high-tech technology, like drones, like different kind of unmanned technologies, electronic warfare, optical navigation, computer vision, and so on.
It seems the West has been behind in this whole war, since the full-scale invasion, in they're reacting to it very slowly and making decisions slowly and giving weapons slowly. And if they had, said, okay, here's our objective, we need to give Ukraine everything that they need, but they're reacting with fear and I guess bureaucracy and democracy. I don't know, like, any thoughts about why that, what is this fear and how can that be changed going forward?
I think like we have to learn from experience, from our like lessons of our history. We know that Russia didn't stop on Georgia, they didn't stop on Crimea, so they won't stop in Ukraine. And like especially Baltic countries, they understand this very well. They're like constantly training their civilians. They trying to learn from Ukraine, like they're also speeding up the technological manufacture. There are some drone companies that started manufacture in Estonia and Latvia. So I think all other Western countries have to also learn from this war and like either join all the efforts to fight and destroy Russian army, or prepare the civilian population for the future war that is like highly possible if the Russia won't be stopped in Ukraine.
And people probably don't even think about it, but if Russia acquires Ukraine or wins in Ukraine, they'll replenish its army with Ukrainians to fight
Yeah,
further.
correct. Correct. This is what they do on occupied territories. They're mobilizing the Ukrainian population on occupied territories.
Because their army works pretty much with just fear tactics, where if you don't do what they want you to do, you get shot, you get hurt, or it doesn't go well for you. There's not much choice, right?
Yeah, I have a friend from Donetsk, like he's originally from Donetsk. He's in the army 11th year. And yeah, I asked him once, what's your motivation? He told me, I don't want to be in Russian army. I'd rather be in Ukrainian army. So that's why I'm in Ukrainian army protecting my land.
Yeah, when I was in Kiev, I spoke to some people about like just sort of the new mobilization, and there one of the complaints I heard why there are some people who are resistant to it is because there isn't a regular rotation within the Ukrainian army, and the guys who have been fighting have been out there for a long time, and people are afraid that they're just going to get stuck out there without a way out. And if they saw that there was, okay, you're there for 6 months, then you get 3 months break, and then you go back for 6 months, that they would be more willing to sign up and volunteer and mobilize. Have you heard that? Do you have any thoughts about that? Like, is that possible, or is it just because there's just a lack of people that they can't do that?
I think it's like everything at the same time. There is a lack of people. Also, like our front line is like pretty long. Currently, it's more than 2,000 kilometers. So to cover all the front line, you have like more than 1 million people in the army, and also like civilian populations, they are demotivated and also tired of the war. Like if Western people are telling they are tired of Russian-Ukrainian war, like what Ukrainians can tell. And I just recently saw a TV show called Foyle's War about Great Britain in the Second World War. And it seems in the Great Britain there were like same issues with mobilization. So I guess it's not just like unique Ukrainian issue. It's like happens all the time during the war. There are people who are like willing to to actively fight in the army and protect your land, and there are people who are more passive and I don't know, prefer to keep their kind of normal life.
Well, in Ukraine, I mean, there's a lot of volunteerism, and people are helping in different ways. Not everyone can be in the front line or is good at that, and they have other skills, like you, for instance, who are there. You don't have a gun in your hands, but you're doing work that other people maybe can't do that's needed.
Yeah, and also there is like high need in meal tech manufacturing, and like a lot of new meal tech businesses appeared since the full-scale invasion. Currently, there are more than 200 meal tech manufacturers in Ukraine, and like even if you compare manufacturing like last year and this year, last year about 90% of components were imported to Ukraine, and this year about just about 50% is imported, and the other half being localized to Ukraine.
When you say mil tech, that means military technology?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Or defense technology.
Now, if someone's listening to this and they would like to support you and Dignitas specifically, how can they do that? How can they find you?
So we have 501c3 organization in United States. On our website, Dignitas.fund, you can find ways to join our team as a volunteer or donate money, or donate drones, or even purchase something on Amazon wish list, and we will deliver it to the front line. We're also looking for analytics to join our team to help us with analytical reports on defense military technologies. So we partner with foreign companies that are willing to test their products in Ukraine, like especially military manufacturers that develop their products somewhere in Canada, in US, and as I told about HIMARS, so they work pretty good in Arizona, but not so good in Ukraine. So if you want to prove that your product will actually work during the wartime, like we can help you test them in Ukraine on the polygons, and also on the front line if you donate your products to Ukrainian army. There's also options to join our team as volunteers, as employee, and support us in like different ways. With like as a true volunteers, we are trying to keep our admin expenses as low as possible. So like one company donated office to us, so we get an office for free. Another company donated warehouse, we're getting warehouse for free. We are getting gas donated to the company. So we are accepting donations in different forms to keep our admin cost as low as possible, and spend money donation to procure technological devices to the Ukrainian army, and also training military personnel and training veterans to work in defense tech sector.
Yeah, it's interesting and important work, and certainly cutting edge as far as technology in war. So and people, I think, do want to support Ukraine. Maybe don't want to just give their money to some big unknown big organization where they don't know where it's going. And this is an opportunity to really like participate and support an organization that's there on the ground and doing cutting edge work.
Yeah, and especially for those who want to support technological changes. Like we are fully focused on technology. We don't do any humanitarian project or cultural project or anything else. There are plenty of organizations working on this kind of project, and we are fully focused on technological support of the Ukrainian army and veterans.
Well, it's amazing that you're there and doing this work, and I'm sure you can write a book about all your experiences one day.
Yeah, one day when I'm retired after Ukrainian victory.
Yeah.
One of our newest project is we are helping one of the training center of the armed forces to open ground robotic system school to train operators of evacuation platforms, of demining robots, evacuation robots, and other robotic systems. So this school would be actually like the first in the world, because it's the first in Ukraine, and Ukraine is on top of defense technology right now. So it will be the first in the world. So it's a good chance for someone who wants to be in the history to join us, as we are currently in the process of opening the school. And also I want to mention that like working with the military and on all this government related stuff, we are not trying to replace the government. We are covering gaps where the government and the army is slow because of the bureaucratic procedures. So we're trying to cover the gaps and advocate for government and army to accept all these processes and changes. We are not opening any private schools of UAV pilots or ground robotic systems pilots. We are opening them inside Ukrainian armed forces. So we build this for government and army institutions. We are different from this big international organizations that are focused on long-term sustainable projects that they will take advantage for like the entire life. We are trying to open something and transfer it to the government. All of us had our careers before the full-scale invasion, and we are not planning to build career in the non-profit world. We just want Ukraine to survive and win in this war, and then we can come back to our normal lives.
To the for-profit world of capitalism.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe to some cultural projects. Yes, if you I often suggest people if they want to make real effect on the war, not donate to like big international organization like Red Cross or United Nations organizations, because like the admin cost is so high. So like if you donate like $10, just $1 will be spent in Ukraine. This is a case for like most international organizations. So if you want to actually change something, donate to people on the ground, to local small organizations. And it's not only about Ukraine, it's like I think it's true for any other country.
Надіємося на найкраще і працюємо на це.
Слава Україні!
Coming up on episode 5, our guest is Dr. Lada Roslitsky, the founder and managing partner of Black Trident Defense and Security Consulting Group. Lada is a Ukraine expert based in Kyiv, where she has continued to live since the start of the full-scale invasion.
Брами неба озвуться громом і вогнем.